Hey guys, if you are new to the world of generative AI or agentic AI, then you need not have to worry about anything because I already have multiple videos on generative AI and agentic AI already on my channel. We have multiple videos starting with mastering generative AI in 6 hours, learning about Olama models, learning about fine-tuning, LoRa Q LoRa, agentic AI, LangGraph, Creo AI, and many more videos already on my channel, which basically means you don't have to spend anything. You don't have to take any course. Just land onto my channel, watch out these videos, and trust me, आपका doubts clear हो जाएगा. If you need the list of all the videos that will make you a pro in generative AI, follow the links in the description and also write down something good so that this video gets maximum reach. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Satyajit Pattnaik. For those who don't know, I make videos around data, analytics, data science, and AI. And welcome to another beautiful project video on my channel. Well, my channel is quite famous for projects. For those who don't know, I have projects around data analytics, I have projects around machine learning, on deep learning, on generative AI, and now we have started with this agentic AI series, and this is the first project on agentic AI. Well, in this project we are going to automate a dental appointment system. Now imagine a scenario, आप hospital call करते हो या फिर clinics को call करते हो and you have been kept on hold for 10-15 minutes, 20 minutes, that एक appointment के लिए are actually waiting for 20 minutes, or else for example you are looking out for Dr. X but Dr. X is not available, or else you go to the hospital and पता चलता है कि Dr. X is already busy with 10 other patients. So that kind of process is very hectic, right? What if we can automate that using agentic AI? Well, the answer is yes, and the answer is going to be in this video. Well, in this video we are leveraging LangGraph, and as part of the brain, the large language model, we are using Grok 4. So in case you are not having a Grok 4 API, nothing to worry about. You can quickly switch to Olama or basically any other API that you are comfortable with. So without further ado, let's get started. The entire project is going to be explained in a way that anybody can learn. So make sure you have some basic idea about agentic AI before jump into this video. And in case you have not watched some of my previous videos on LangGraph and Creo AI, you know what to do. All the links are in the description. Apart from that, enjoy this video, enjoy this project. In case you have something to tell, please comment down below. And in case you have any specific requirement, you want me to come up with a specific video on a particular topic, write down in the comments as well. See you and enjoy. Hi, imagine this. It's 7 p.m. You're back from the office, but you have some tooth issues since lunch. You finally get a moment to call the dentist or probably the hospital. And while ringing, imagine there are multiple rings and you have been straight away been redirected to the voicemail. And the voicemail says, "Oops, please call back during the business hours." And the business hours are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Or you get through, but you are number 9 in the waiting list. Hold music plays for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. 10 to 20 minutes. Now finally someone answers, and that someone sounds rushed and stressed. You explain you need an appointment. Then they ask your name, date of birth, insurance details, blah blah blah, before even checking availability. Then they say, sorry, the doctor you want to book is already booked for the next 3 weeks. You say yes, probably beyond 3 weeks is also fine because you are desperate to take an appointment. So let's say the agent says, well, the next available appointment is on 20th of April, which is 5 weeks from now, at 7:30 in the morning. And you say yes, let's get through it. But again, then life happens, right? You have work conflict, you have kids school events, and then you forget and you probably need to cancel or maybe need to reschedule it, and you again have to go through this entire process. Isn't it like a frustrated situation. I mean, I have been through such kind of situations forever. And if you have also been through such kind of situations, I know how pathetic the experience is, right? So this is basically a problem statement that I have identified, especially when it comes to the hospital industry or when it comes to the medical industry, especially for appointment bookings. Now, can this entire process be automated so that somebody does not have to wait? Because eventually, if Mr. X, Mr. Y, and Mr. Z, not Mr. basically Dr. X, Dr. Y, and Dr. Z, let's say these are the three available general practitioners, and let's say Dr. A, Dr. B are into some other areas, Dr. C, Dr. D are again into some other areas, and if we are able to capture their available slots, their current bookings, and if we are able to access to all of these individual calendars, can't we not automate this entire process where somebody who comes in, the automated system will be able to check all the details of the patient, and then probably it goes through, it asks what do you want. Let's say the patient wants a general practitioner. Yes, Dr. X, Y, and Z are available. Whom do you want to go ahead with? Then the patient answers, I want to go ahead with Dr. Y. Yes, these are the available slots. Do you want to book any of them? It will make the entire process so easy, right? So, can we do that? Definitely. And this is exactly what we are doing in this particular project. Well, I'm not automating the entire appointment system of a hotel, but the data set that we have got for this particular exercise, we have a bunch of dentists. There are different type of dentists, including general dentists, orthodontists, and various other categories of dentists, and we are kind of building this dental appointment system. And this dental appointment management system is going to be co-powered by LangGraph for agent orchestration. We are going to use Grok 4, which is going to be our main brain for natural language understanding, and the system allows users to manage dental appointments through natural language commands. Now, let's try to talk a little bit about this use case so that we can understand a bit more about it. So in this particular use case, I have divided the tasks into two different categories. We have a CSV reader and we have a CSV writer. CSV reader basically has 4 tools and CSV writer has 3 tools. Our data set is basically a CSV file. In case you want to take it to another level, it's very simple. You just have to use any of the databases, let's say Oracle database or MySQL database or MS SQL database, and dump your file into these databases, and then you can directly connect these databases with Python and you can go ahead with your management system. But in this particular case, we are going to use CSV. That's why I have 2 different modules. One is CSV reader and one is CSV writer. So what are the different tools that we have inside each one of them? Well, in CSV writer, we have the booking agent, we have the cancellation agent, and we have the rescheduling agent. The reason why it is a part of the CSV writer is because in order to do all these activities, you have to actually go to the CSV file and do a booking. Well, we'll talk about the dataset shortly, so nothing to worry about. And similarly with cancellation also, imagine your CSV file has multiple columns and one of the columns basically tells that yes, the booking is done, you have to cancel it, right? So you have to go and basically change this CSV file, and same with the rescheduling agent. For the CSV reader part, let me just quickly show you that. we have CSV reader. Well, I'll be opening a different file later on. So first one is your get available slots. So get availability, that's the first one. The second one is get patient appointments. Let's say you are providing a particular patient ID, you should be able to get the appointments, right? The existing appointments. Then we have the check slot availability. Imagine you have provided a slot that is Dr. X available at 8 a.m. on 15th of April. So in that case, this particular tool will be triggered. And the last but not the least is basically list doctors by specialization. So these are the 7 tools that we are going to use in this particular project. Tool 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the flow basically starts from our main file. We have a main file. From here the flow starts, and then eventually the flow goes into your LLM. Your LLM is able to understand the user's question, and then the LLM is able to redirect and call which particular tool it wants to call, right? That's exactly what an agentic AI flow is, right? We'll talk about the architecture shortly, but this is what our use case is. We are creating a dental appointment system. The core components of these projects are very simple. The core components of these projects are LangGraph, which is our orchestrator. We are going to use xAI's Grok. To be very specific, I'm going to use Grok 4 large language model. Apart from that, anything else that are the different components, I think we are good. These are the major components. LangGraph. Why are we not using LangChain is something also I will be explaining later on, not in this video. But yeah, these are the major components. Yeah, and of course we have the data, which is our CSV file. That's a major component as well, and that's pretty much it. And our CLI entry point, which is our main.py. These are the 4 components of this particular project. That's it. I hope you understood. This is going to be a really good project, and end-to-end explanation will be done. The code walkthrough, architecture walkthrough, the data walkthrough, and let's go ahead and enjoy this project. Hi, welcome back. Let's try to get into the core components once again, and quickly we will be jumping into the architecture diagram. So the very first core component is your main.py. If you look at the code, this is going to be your CLI entry point, because everything, your agentic AI workflow gets executed from the main.py. Okay, the second core component is your, we have a dental agent. I will be showing you the code shortly. Dental agent.agent. Okay, now this is nothing but your LangGraph agent that processes natural language. Number 3 is your CSV file. So we have a file which is your doctor's availability. I don't know the exact file name, but it is something like that. Doctor's availability.csv. Now that is basically your data store. In case you want to take it to another level, as I told you, you need to dump it into a database, and then from your Python you can use some of the MySQL connector or PyMySQL to connect to the database. That will also make this project or take this project to the next level. that can be done, but yes, for now we are using CSV file. Number 4 is our model. So I'm basically using Grok 4 by xAI. So this is my LLM, so this is my brain that I'm going to use. And last but not the least, which is LangGraph, which is my agent framework for orchestration. Right? Generally speaking, I have already explained this before, that some of the major components of an agentic AI framework is brain, which is this. The second is orchestrator, which is this. The third is supervisor. Yes, we will also have a supervisor in it, which will be the human in the loop, right? We will definitely have memory, because memory is attached with our model, so memory will also be there. Yes, you can also write it down. Number 6 is your memory. And of course, how can I forget the most important component, number 7, are my 7 tools that I have, right? I've already explained the 7 tools. We have 4 reader tools and 3 writer tools. Before getting into the architecture, let me just tell you that this entire project was wipe coded, which basically means I have not written down the code from scratch, which also means that you can wipe code and create any kind of complex projects as well. But my recommendation will be, whenever you are doing wipe coding, please try to understand the code and then copy. Do not blindly copy paste the codes. Or else what you can do is you can use some techniques, such as you wipe code it, you generate the code, and then you can again ask Grok or any AI tool that you are using to explain the code blocks. That can also be done. Okay, so anything is fine unless and until you understand, and do not blindly copy paste. I think it should be okay. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and try to understand the architecture diagram. So let's try to talk about the architecture diagram. So it starts with a start node, and then after the start node, basically my entry point is main.py. So this is your CLI entry point using which the flow starts. After that, we basically have like an agent, the Agentic AI React Agentic AI framework that we have. So I will write it down as the brain, which basically understands and redirects the flow into either, let me do this way and this way. Okay, so we have 2 parts here. One is your CSV reader and one is your CSV writer. So we have all the 4 tools here. Okay, get appointments, get appointment by whatever the 4 ones, the 4 tools that we had, right? List doctors by specialization, and what was the third one? Let me write it down. Get available slots, get patient appointments. The third one is check slot availability. And get list of doctors, right? List doctors by specialization. List doctors by specialization. Okay, and let me try to decrease the size of it. These are the 4 tools that we have. Similarly, in CSV writer we have let me just show you directly what exactly do we have. We have the tools and we have the writer. We have book appointment, cancel appointment, and reschedule appointment. Okay, these are the 3 elements that we have, right? So, and eventually you basically have these kind of tools, right? So based on your identifying the intent and based on your user input, user message, you are able to understand and you are able to call the respective tool. And then from here, let's say you have this final data layer. So this is your CSV file that you have. Very high level architecture diagram, right? Now the LangGraph diagram is something that I will show later on, because if you remember, when we are creating the graph, right, we have 3 different things, right? We have the nodes, we have the edges, and we have the conditional edges, right? So when we jump into the graph, I will also show you the graphical representation of the code, but yeah, this is like a very high level architecture diagram that we have. Apart from this, if I talk about a very detailed data flow, well, this is how the data flow looks like. Let's say I will try to draw it. Let's say I'll be drawing simply, let's say we have user, and let's say we have this main.py. Let's say we have this dental graph, and then let's say we have the large language model, and then let's say we have the final data layer, right? So let's say the user is asking, let me also do a similar kind of, okay, something like this, right? Let me draw the lines between them. Okay, let's say something like this. Now let's say the user is asking a question. Okay, this is how the flow is, right? Okay, show the available slots for general dentist. Show available slots for a dentist. Now what will main.py do? Main.py will basically stream the message and also check the historical conversation, and will be able to call the dental graph. Now dental graph will basically analyze the intent, right? Analyze the intent while calling the large language model, and then the LLM will be able to call the tools, and the tool will eventually be calling the CSV file, and they will basically query the available slots, and they will be able to revert back with the available slots, right? And this will, LLM will generate a response that these are the available slots that are available, and then again it sends it back to the stream response, and then the user will be able to see the available slots, right? That is exactly what the flow is. From user, the question is being passed, right? Main.py is interpreting the question, and then it is redirecting it to the agent. Now this is your agent, right? This is your brain. This is your data layer. So your agent is analyzing the intent. With the help of LLM, here you are able to call query available slots is your first tool, right? Your LLM is identifying which tool do we call. There are 7 tools: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, let's say the user is asking, my patient ID is 1000082. Can I do a booking with Dr. John? So in this case, it will be getting the availability for this particular doctor for this particular patient ID, right? So let's say here we are calling tool number 3. So that is how the flow will be. It's very simple. So this is like a very high level flow. Well, when we jump into the code, we will try to get into more and more understanding. I hope this is clear. So that's all about the high level architecture, or the high level diagram, or the high level flow diagram, where how the flow works. Let's jump into the data set, try to understand a little bit about the data set, and slowly we will move on to the next steps. Hi, let's try to talk about the data set. Well, if you look at this data set, there are majorly 5 columns: date slot, specialization, doctor's name, is available, patient to attend. If you look at the date slot, by the way, before we talk about this data set, let me tell you that for this particular use case, I have taken this data set from one of the Kaggle repositories. If you want to take this project to the next level, to look like it's actually an industry level problem, there are certain ways of pushing the data from this CSV file to actual database, which we will be talking about shortly. But let's try to understand the data set. So we have date slot in a particular format. We have specialization, and if you can see, there are multiple types of dentist here: cosmetic dentist, emergency dentist, general dentist. Well, I don't have that much of medical domain knowledge, so I don't know what actually each of these dentists does. And then there are different doctors assigned to each specialization. This is a Boolean column. If is available is true, that means this doctor has a slot in this particular date slot. They have this slot, and that is why you can see the patient to attend is null. If you look at false, because they don't have the slot because of this particular patient who already has been booked. So for all the true rows, definitely this patient to attend will be null. There will be no case where it will not be null, right? I hope it is clear. Now what we are going to do in this particular project is very simple. In this particular project, we are going to use the CSV file, right? And as we will have like 6 or 7 different tools, well, we will talk about it when we jump into the code. What I remember is, yes, there is an info agent, there is a booking agent, there is a cancel agent, and there is a reschedule agent, right? When you are actually calling the booking one, see, you are going to change your data set or your database only in these 3 conditions, right? In your info, you are basically just doing a read operation, but in the other 3, you are going to do a write operation, right? So in your booking, for example, you want to book for this slot, try to understand that patient ID is important. Patient ID is important, without which you cannot book. Similarly, if you want to cancel a booking, for example, you want to cancel this booking, and this is your user ID, right? So you have to again pass your patient ID, and you can cancel your booking. Same for reschedule. For example, this particular person ID has already booked this, but they want to book it for 8 o'clock, or they want to book it for another slot like 7th of August
8 o'clock. Yes, they can do that also. So again, patient ID is mandatory here. Of course, from date to date is also needed, right? Here also patient ID and which particular transaction or which particular date, that is also needed. And book also, patient ID and date is needed, right? So I hope this is pretty much clear, very easy to understand. So that's all about your data set. So whenever we will be calling these operations, we will actually be editing this Excel sheet on the go. Okay, for example, we are trying to book, we will edit it. We are trying to cancel or reschedule, we'll edit it. So make sure when you are running this project, your CSV file is not opened, else write operation will fail. Now, how can we take this project to the next level? It's very simple. Right now, as you are doing everything with CSV, why don't you go ahead and put it into a server, like, sorry, a SQL database. Could be a MySQL database or Oracle SQL database or Microsoft SQL database. You can easily put, and then you can do database operations directly. Instead of editing your CSV files, you can directly edit your tables in these databases, and that will definitely look like a actual project, like a industry level project, right? Now, in order to do this activity, you will need some Python libraries such as PyMySQL or some sort of a MySQL connector, Python connector, something like this. So that's pretty much it. Let's try to jump into the product demo, and I will show you how exactly the product works, and immediately we will jump into the code understanding. Hi, let's get into the project demo. Well, we all know what we are solving. We are creating a dental appointment system where we have 7 different tools. One of them being get available slots, get patients appointments, check slot availability, list doctors by specialization, booking, cancelling and rescheduling appointments. For this exercise, as I've already told, we are using LangGraph, which is our orchestrator, and as a large language model we are using xAI's Grok. Now, for those who are not aware of this particular large language model, let me tell you that this large language model is by the company called xAI, whose owner is Elon Musk, who is also the owner of X, which was earlier known as Twitter. Now, in order to get started with xAI, it's very simple. You just have to visit xAI's platform. Once you are logged in, just go to this page docs.x.ai/console/billing. You just have to move to billing API credits. Once you are in this page, you just have to add some credits. In my case, I have already added like $10. And once you have added, you have to just create an API key and get started with it. So for this exercise, I have already created this test API key, which is open here, and I'm going to use it in my document, in my project. We have a config in the settings. I'm just adding it. I've already done these changes. I don't have to repeat it and then close it. I don't want to save it because it's already saved. And let's go ahead and jump into the project demo. So for this particular project, I'm going to execute it on Anaconda prompt. So let me navigate it to the folder. And as I told you, the very first thing that we need to execute is the main file. Always remember that this is your data set. So make sure you do not have this open while executing this project, because as I told you that when it comes to booking appointments or canceling appointments or rescheduling appointments, the tool will actually go ahead and edit this CSV file. So make sure the CSV file is not open, else there will be difficulties, right? So let's run this main.py and let's go ahead to this whiteboard, and we will be kind of testing all of these flows. So to get started with, let's try to talk about get available slots. Okay, so I'm going to ask, hi, I want to get an appointment. I want to get a dentist appointment. Okay, let's ask a simple question. I want to get a dentist appointment. Now, as we are creating a dental appointment management system, as I told you that there are multiple types of dentists like general dentist, orthodontist, etc., etc. So it is first asking, hi, I would be happy to help you book a dental appointment. To get started, could you please tell me your patient ID? My patient ID is, or else let me just write down a simple 999999. Okay, this number does not exist, so I'm just randomly giving 999999. So now the bot will remember this patient ID and then it will go ahead with the next discussion. What type of dental appointment are you looking for? As I told you that in this particular data set, I'm just opening because I'm not executing it anything right now. While you execute, make sure the files are closed. Okay, so if you look at this file, there are multiple types of dentists, right? There is general dentist, cosmetic dentist, emergency dentist, oral surgeon, orthodontist, pediatric dentist, prosthodontist, and so on, right? So we don't know what the user is asking. The user is asking which type of dentist. So let's say the user is telling, I want a general dentist. So the chat is getting carried forward, and now large language model is asking, the agent is asking, great, for a general dentist appointment we have several doctors. Do you have a preferred doctor or a specific date you are aiming for? I don't know. Okay, let's just write I don't know, and then expecting the agent to tell that here are the couple of doctors that we have. Do you want to choose one of them? So let's see how it responds. No problem, I have pulled up the next available slots. So these are the available slots, and you can see all of these are with Dr. John Doe, right? And I have formatted them as M/T/YYYY. Now, as we are not interacting with the chatbot right now, I'm going to open the file and just cross check this particular slot. Okay, so let's go ahead, open, sorry, my bad, open this file, and let's go back to the, so 5, so 8 5, okay, 8 o'clock, you can see, right? 8 o'clock there is an availability, 8:30 there is an availability. Talking about 7 8, 8 o'clock, 7 8, 8 o'clock also there is an availability, 8:30 availability, 9:30 availability. You can see 9, it is not showing because 9 already is booked by Mr. 1000097, right? So closing this file. Now let's say I'm just asking for any slot. Any slot is fine, but yes, I want to move ahead with Dr. John. Okay. I could have actually asked a bit difficult question like, I want some slots in the afternoon, but it's okay. Let us ask after this. Why it is taking so much time? Okay, understood. Since any slot works for you, I'll go ahead and book the earliest available with John. All said, I've successfully booked your general dentist appointment with John on this. You can see that the booking is confirmed, right? That means I should be able to see the booking in the Excel sheet. So let's go ahead and open it. And you can see the booking is confirmed. Earlier, this particular slot was empty, is available was true, and it was empty. But now it is filled up with this particular patient ID, right? Now, which basically means we are able to test out some of these flows, right? So so the booking appointment is kind of tested. Get available slots were tested. Check slot availability was also tested. List doctors by specialization. Let's try to ask. Okay. Do we have any orthodontists? That will basically show you the list of all the orthodontists available. So in this particular question, the LLM will be definitely be hitting this particular tool, list doctors by specialization. You can see, yes, we have orthodontists available. Here the list of our orthodontist, Dr. Kevin Anderson. Okay, let's just ask randomly. Do we have any orthodontist with the name of Ravi? Just a random name. No. What about Dr. John? Do we have any orthodontist with that name? So I'm just trying to manipulate and trying to because Dr. John exists, but Dr. John is not a ortho. You can see, I'm sorry, do not have any orthodontist named Dr. John or similar variations like John Doe in our system. Our only listed orthodontist is Kevin Anderson. If you're referring to Dr. John, he's actually a general dentist. Okay, so it's working, right? Let us try to quickly check one of these flows like cancel or reschedule. Either we can do it in this session, or if you want, we can create a new session. Let's try to create a new session. Okay, let's say we'll buy. I'm going to again execute, and this time I'm going to give one of the existing patient IDs. Hey, I am patient ID 1000082. I wanted to cancel one of my appointments. So now it will directly go ahead and hit the get patient's appointment. It will be able to hit this. We will be able to get all the list of appointments, and then which appointment to cancel, it will be able to go ahead and cancel it. If this particular person has some appointment, yes, I'm here to help you with your dental appointments. I have pulled up your booking appointments. Now, first of all, let me verify this person actually exists or not, because I literally typed in some random numbers. I knew that the patients are in this format, but 82 was a random guess. But still, luckily. So let's say I'm going to put a filter. Now I'm going to put a filter on patient ID. Select 1000082. Yeah, we actually have. So it has multiple. General dentist 8 o'clock. General dentist 8 o'clock, yes. With Emily Johnson. With John Doe is also there. Oh, this is 8/8/2026. 8/8. Where is 8/8? 8/8 is this. Yeah, this is there. Fine. Let's randomly check one of them. Okay, let's say this one. 6/8. 6/8 is here. 6/8/15. 6/8/15 is this one. Is it a prosthodontist with Michael Green? Yes, Michael Green prosthodontist. So it's working, right? Okay, let's try to close this file, and let's say I want to cancel the appointment with Jane Smith. I want to cancel the with Jane Smith. Let's say so Jane Smith has multiple. Let's say what the conversation is happening right now. It looks like you have 3 appointments booked with Dr. Jane. Which one? The morning one. Is it able to interpret this? Logically, it should be. Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. If the yes, this is what you want to cancel. Yes, yes, please. So that's pretty much it. I think we are able to we are able to test all the flows. And if you want, we can also check this particular thing on 6/8 at 9 o'clock. Is this available or not? I'm pretty much sure it would have been cancelled out, but still we can check this out with Dr. Jane Smith at 9 o'clock. Especially it was 6/9, right? 6/8, sorry. Let's say we'll try to filter out first. 8/2 and then 6/8. Yeah, 6/8 is gone. 6/8 is there. Okay, let's try to select. Okay, 6/8, 6/8. No more 6/8. Yeah, and with Jane Smith, 12:30 is there, 15 is there, but 9 o'clock is gone, right? 12:30 and 15:30 is there, but 9:30 is gone, right? So this is working, and let's tell bye to our agent. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this use case, at least the demo part. We all know what the next step will be. The next step will be jumping into the coding part, because that's the most important piece. It's going to be a complex code, but I'm going to explain you in a layman's term in as simple words as possible. So let's jump into the code without wasting time. Hi, let's get into the coding part. Now, before getting into the coding part, let me just remind you that this is an Agentic AI application, and for this particular thing we are using LangGraph as our orchestrator. We are using the xAI's Grok 4 as the large language model, and of course we will be using various other components that are needed, such as we'll be implementing memory, we will be using tools. In this case we already have 7 tools. We will be discussing through it, and apart from that we will also be using a supervisor, which will be the human in the loop, who will be able to guide in this particular project. Now, in case you are not having this particular large language model access, request you to either go to the platform, take some credits, or else switch it to Chat Olama, so that you can easily try out some of the Olama models. But let me also remind you that if you want to switch it to Olama, my recommendation will be to either go ahead with at least a 8 billion parameter model. Do not go with smaller models, because your model output will be impacted if you are going ahead with a smaller model. So how do we change it to Olama? I think most of you are already aware of it. Simply, instead of Chat xAI, I will have to switch it to Chat Olama. If you don't know, it's completely fine. You can always ask any AI tool such as grok.com or ChatGPT or any other platform. Using vibe coding, you can easily change your large language model. So without further ado, let's get into the coding part. So the very first thing that I'm going to show you is the folder structure. Okay, now our first entry point is going to be through this main.py. Okay, so the folder structure wise, we have main.py, that is basically the entry point. And if you go to this particular folder, which is dental agent, you will see multiple folders such as agents, which has multiple agents like booking agent, cancellation agent, rescheduling agent, and so on. We have the configuration files, the settings file where all the configurations are available. What are the valid specializations? Who are the valid doctors that we have? What is the date format that we are using? What is the API key that we are using, and so on, right? And then after the config file, we also have models where you will be able to see the state file where we are creating the agent state. Then we have tools where we have two different tools, CSV reader and CSV writer. Then we have workflows, which is nothing but our graphical workflow where we are initiating our graph. What nodes are we creating? How are we creating? All these things are mentioned here. And then edges, and then conditional edges, and all those things, right? If you go through this particular function, which is the build graph function, you will eventually be able to create your entire flowchart, right? For those who don't know, let me just try to repeat it, that agentic AI in LangGraph is basically something like this, where all these are nodes and these are your edges. And when you have like a conditional edge where you probably involve a human in the loop for taking a decision making, in that case we go for conditional edges, right? So these are like conditional edges, something like this, right? Conditional edges, right? So yes, these are your graphical workflows. And then we have the agent file, which also has some of the functions such as, you know, creating your React agent, and the utils file, which basically sanitizes your messages and few other things. Okay, that's how the architecture looks like. This is my data set, right? So just last step with before getting into the coding part, let me just reiterate that our architecture diagram basically starts like this. Then we have our main.file, main.py as a starting point. Then we have different tools, right? We have two different tools. One is CSV reader and one is CSV writer, and it has four agents in it. It has three agents in it, or four tools in it. And then eventually there are 7 tools, 6, 7. This calls 4, this calls 3, and based on that each tool does their work. And finally we have the data layer, which is basically a CSV file, right? That is exactly how the architecture looks like. Okay, let's jump into the code walkthrough. Okay, let's jump into the main.py. So to get started with, you can see that we already have a hard-coded banner here, which is basically nothing but whenever we start our application. For example, let's say I'm getting started with my application on Anaconda prompt. I'm going to navigate to this folder, this folder. The moment I do python main.py, the banner is the first thing that we will be seeing. So within couple of seconds, the banner will be visible right now. You can see the banner is visible, dental appointment management system powered by LangGraph plus Grok 4 xAI, and these are the things. Whatever is mentioned here, that is something we are displaying. Okay, so let me quit right now. So, and understood, that's the first thing that we are kind of printing. So if you go to the run function, which is the first entry point, we are first printing the banner, right? That's the application entry point. Now after that, if you go to line number 31, which is this particular while block, 31 till 42, this part. Now what is happening here? Now this is basically like a continuously prompts user for input, right? So for example, you are interacting with the chatbot, right? For example, if I go to Anaconda prompt, let's say I'm getting started with this application. So it is asking you some message, right? That is exactly what this block is all about. It will continuously ask you the question, whatever you are passing from the front end. For example, you are asking, hey, I want to book an appointment for a general dentist, right? So whatever message you have sent, that is basically appended here as a human message in the history. So for those who don't know, inside LangChain core there are multiple types of messages, right? There is human message, there is human message, there is AI message, there is a tool message, and so on. Human message is something that the human is providing. AI message is provided by the AI. Tool message are the messages provided by the tools. Okay, so clear on this part? So this is basically your input loop. Okay, now jumping on to line number 44, probably till around here, right? Line number 73. Now if you look at this piece of code here, first of all, the user is appending the input in human message, and that is getting appended in this history variable, right? And then sends the entire conversation history to the AI agent, right? And that is received by the AI agent, receives streaming response from the AI agent. And finally, from line number 46 till 71, there are some print statements, right? These are like your outputs, your AI response token by token in real time, right? So that's basically your main.py. Now if you talk about some of the main components in this project, let me just quickly iterate if you have forgotten. The first main component, as we have already discussed, is the main.py, which is like the command line interface entry point. Okay, from here the next thing is the dental agent dot agent, which is basically your LangGraph agent that processes natural language. Then we have the CSV file, which is the data layer, right? Then we have our large language model, LLM, right? And then we have the orchestrator, which is LangGraph. Okay, so let's try to understand the different user interaction flows. Okay, so when it comes to user interaction flows, the first thing I want to talk about is query availability. Now, for example, as a user, you are asking, show available slots for an orthodontist. Okay. Now, agent reads the CSV file. What's happening here is agent is going and reading the CSV file, filters by the specialization. Okay. See, if I ask you as a human being, forget about the agent. Imagine this is your file, and I will ask you, tell me what are the available slots for an orthodontist. What will you do? You will eventually go into the Excel sheet and probably do a filter on the orthodontist and probably do another filter mostly on the blank patients, right? I mean, wherever the availability is there. This is what you will be doing, right, as a human being. And this is exactly what the agent will also do. So whenever you are asking such question like show me available slots, the agent is going to read the CSV file. It is going to filter by specialization, and then it will be returning you the available slots. Okay. The second user interaction flow is book appointment. Okay. Now example. Example, you are providing a user input such as book an appointment with Dr. John for any available slot, right? So what's happening here now? Again, I'll ask you this question as a human being. What will you do? First of all, you will try to, let's say I'm going to clear all the filters. First of all, what you will do, you will go ahead and search, is there somebody whose name is John? Oh, Johnson and John Doe. I think the user is asking about John Doe, but I'm not sure. So let me go back and ask the user, right? So the chatbot will also do the same thing. It will again ask you, are you talking about John Doe? If you give a confirmation yes, then yes, we are going to filter it out. And then I will again search for the available slots, and then I will go ahead and revert back to the user that these are the available slots, do you want to book, right? So agent will also do the same thing. So agent will first check the doctor, and from its historical information it might already have the patient ID, and then it will go ahead for this particular patient ID, it will check any available slot and it will book it, right? That's the second flow. Similarly, we also have other flows such as the cancellation of appointment, cancellation, or maybe rescheduling, and these are again very similar flows. So if you're asking for a cancellation, let's say cancel my appointment for 8th of March with Dr. John, something like that. So what it will do, it will go ahead, first of all it will check which patient ID from the historical transaction or historical information, it will get this particular slot with this particular doctor, and it will go ahead and cancel it. And same happens for rescheduling appointment as well, and even for view appointments, right? So user interaction flows, yes, first flow, second flow, third flow, and let's say the fourth flow is about rescheduling, and let's say another flow is about view appointments, right? So let's say what appointments does a particular patient with ID 10082 have, right? So with this particular patient, you are going and checking one of the tools, which is view appointments, and you are able to get the list of all the appointments. So that's how the user interaction flow happens, right? So if we go ahead into the coding part, we will see that there are majorly some of the important components such as this part, right? History.append, message history, streaming response. These are some things that you need to understand. So let me just try to talk about some of these items that are also going to be very, very important. So let's say some of the key code concepts. The first concept is message history. Especially talking about this thing. The system basically maintains conversation history so the AI can understand the context, right? That is very simple to understand. Similarly, we also have the second code concept, which is the streaming responses. Okay, now instead of waiting for full response, you can actually stream tokens in real time, right? So if we go ahead with this part, you can see this part for event type data in dental graph dot stream. So this is where the streaming happens. Okay, the third concept that I want to talk about is the agent architecture. Agent architecture. Now LangGraph basically manages the agent workflow, right? The very first step is it receives the user input, right? Then user input is used by the LLM for understanding the intent. Then after the intent is understood, calls the respective tool, because there are multiple tools. So these could be your file operations. And then the tool has some return values, like tool is returning you something. That return is being interpreted again by the LLM, and you're able to generate the natural language output to the user. And that is exactly what the entire agent architecture flow is, right? And last but not the least, if we talk about code concepts, the fourth important point is we are using CSV as our database, right? So we are using this doctor availability .csv, which is going to be read and written throughout this entire process. So whenever you're executing this piece of code, make sure you close this CSV file, because 7 out of 7 tools, there are 3 such tools which will actually write on top of this particular CSV file, right? So let's go ahead and do a code walkthrough. Okay, so I think everybody's clear with the main file. Let me quickly jump into all of these individual parts. So for example, to get started with, let's jump into the CSV reader and then slowly jump into the CSV writer part. Hi, before jumping into the CSV reader and writer, let me just show you that in the main.py, this is where we are getting redirected to. We are basically calling this dental underscore graph. And if you look at this particular thing, you will be able to redirect to this agent.py, which is standing here, right? Which is sitting here. Now agent.py is one of the most important files here, because this is our agent file where we are first of all defining all our tools that are being used in CSV reader. These are the 4 tools, and these are the 3 tools that we have in the CSV writer, and we have defined that inside the tools, right? So what are these tools? If you go ahead, you'll have to go through these 2 files, which is CSV reader and CSV writer. So first of all, CSV reader, you can see that there is one tool with this @tool decorator. For those who might have forgotten that there are 3 ways of creating a tool, right? One of the way is using a tool decorator. One of the ways is using the structure tool, using the from function and converting a function into a tool. And the third way is the base tool, right? So we are using this particular technique to convert a function into a tool, right? So this is my first tool where we have get available slots, and these are the 3 input parameters for me, which is specialization, doctor name, and the date filter. If you look at the description, you can see the description is properly written. It returns the available is available equals to true appointment slots. The arguments are blah 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 and so on. So whatever specialization you are asking for, let's say orthodontist, and you have provided the doctor name and the date filter, basically what you need to do is you are basically going through this Excel sheet and getting the available the available doctors. As simple as that, right? Now for example, if I tell you that can you give me, let's say the user is asking, give me the available slots for Dr. John Doe, who is a general dentist. Okay, so what we do as a human being, we will go ahead. First of all, we will select the specialization, general dentist, yes, and here John Doe, yes, right? If we have a date, let's say we also filter out that, let's say a particular date. Let's say we are talking about 5th of August, right? Only 5th of August, which is only these many records. So what will be the output here? The output here will be just one record. The available slots are only one slot, which is 8:30 in the morning, right? That is exactly what will happen. So this is exactly what is happening here. You are calling the file. You are checking if specialization for that particular specialization for that particular doctor, what are the available slots, and then you are returning that. As simple as that. Similarly, the second tool that we have is get patient appointments. If you provide the patient ID, for example, you know a particular patient, let's say this particular patient, if you use that, you will be able to get these patient information, like appointment information, that this patient has 2 appointments, right? Similarly, we have the third one, which is the check slot availability. Let's say you are providing a doctor's name. Let's say you are providing Dr. John Doe, and you are providing a particular date. Yes, there is an available slot. Now this one and this one is bit similar, but still they are different, right? Check slot availability has nothing to do with your specialization, right? Generally, if you are asking for a slot availability. And last but not least, we have list doctors by specialization. If you do not know the exact doctor's name, let's say I want to find somebody in the orthodontist, but I don't know the name. If you do that, it will be able to trigger this particular tool. Similar to CSV Reader, we have CSV Writer, where we have book appointment, cancel appointment, and reschedule appointment. If you look at these functions or the tools, very simple. We have patient ID, doctor name, and date slot. So if we have all this information, we will be able to book the appointment. Similarly, if we have patient ID and date slot, we will be able to cancel the appointment. And rescheduling also, if we have all this information, we will be able to reschedule it, right? Many of you might be thinking that why doctor name is needed for rescheduling. Imagine some patient has 5 appointments, 2 with one doctor, 2 with another doctor, 1 with another doctor. So we also need the doctor's information in order to cancel that particular appointment with that particular doctor, right? So that is where this tool will come into picture. So overall, all the 7 tools are available in these 2 files, and the main file is the agent file, because you can see here we are kind of binding all the tools together. So this is called as tool binding. And after binding the tools, what are we doing? You can see we are creating a React agent. Okay, so we are creating a React agent with the large language model that we have defined, which is the Grok 4 latest. And here we are passing all the tools. And here you can see the pre-model hook is nothing but the underscore pre-model hook, which is basically this thing. Let's try to read through this. It is telling you that runs as a dedicated graph node before every LLM call in a React loop. xAI Grok API rejects any message with empty or null content. So this hook sanitizes all the message types and prepends the system prompt, returning them with LLM input messages. And here we are calling the sanitize message function, which basically sanitizes. And then that's it. Here we are also passing the system prompt inside here. And what is the system prompt? You are a helpful dental appointment assistant, and these are the 4 functions that you need to do. So these are the available specializations, these are the date format, and this is how you need to follow the rules. Okay, I would like to kind of pause here and explain one more thing, that I don't know if this question comes to your mind or not. Imagine you have four functions, right? Function 1, function 2, function 3, function 4. These are not tools. And imagine you are calling a large language model with a system prompt template, right? And the prompt template clearly says that if your messages are something related to this function, then call this function, or else call this function, or else call this, or else call this. So this is your first setup. And the second setup is you have created these functions as @tool. So basically these all are tools, right? We have tool 1, tool 2, tool 3, tool 4, and we have LLM, and we have this prompt template, and then you are also calling the tools. So what is the difference between both of them? Nothing much, but usually this is the right way of implementing an agentic AI solution, right? And let me also tell you that prompt template is not mandatory. If you even remove this prompt template, and I mean, if you remove the hard statements that if this is related to this, then call this tool, if you remove those sentences, your LLM will still be able to call the tools. But in this particular scenario, if you remove those hard statements that for this scenario call function 1, if you remove them, LLM will not be able to call these functions, right? So that makes agentic AI flows bit separate than the non-agentic AI flows, right? Coming back to the code, I hope everybody is understanding. So this system prompt also goes here, and we are able to create a React agent, right? That's pretty much it. Most likely all the code part is completed, and here we have the individual agents that are also written down, like the booking agent, what does it do, the cancellation agent, what does it do, and so on. The most important part is the agent part, which I will quickly be explaining right now. Okay, sorry, not the agent, the graph part, the workflow. Okay, so far so good. Let's try to jump into the graph part shortly. Let's try to understand this graph file. Okay, so first of all, you can see that we have a function called as route from supervisor, because supervisor is the one who is routing and redirecting the LLM to call a particular tool, right? So let's get into this build graph. This is the most important part. So to get started with, we are creating a state graph, and from there let's try to kind of create an architecture diagram based on what we are doing here. Okay, so how does my architecture diagram looks like? Okay, so let's say we start from here, start, then we have a supervisor. So let's say I'm drawing a supervisor. Okay, then we have an info agent. Okay, so let's say there is an info agent. And there is a booking agent. We have info tools. So let me write it down as info tools. And then we have the booking agent, booking tools. Then we have the cancel agent, cancel tools. So cancel agent, cancel tools, and then reschedule agent, reschedule tools, right? And I have just created the nodes. I have not connected any one of them, because till now we are just adding the nodes, right? Then you can see we have a add edge. That means start with supervisor. So let me, so first I will add this edge, start to supervisor. Then you can see we are adding a conditional edge from the supervisor to route from supervisor. So it basically looks like this, that from the supervisor there are four different flows to all of these agents, which is info agent till the rescheduling agent. So it basically looks like this. Okay, so that's basically the meaning of this conditional edge, right? And then info agent is having a conditional edge with the info tools, right? So something like this. Okay, if not, probably end it up. Similarly, if not, end, if not, end, if not, end. Okay, that is how the flow will be. It is little bit complicated, but yeah, I hope you are getting my point. So to begin with, we start from here. Then the supervisor basically reads the conversation, it decides the next step, and then writes the next agent. And what could be the next agent? It could be an info agent, it could be a booking agent, it could be a cancellation agent, it could be a rescheduling agent. And each of these agent has their own tools. So info agent has their information tools, which are like your FAQ tools, right? Which are your CSV reader tools, right? Booking a tool is basically your create appointment or book appointment. This is your cancel appointment, and this is your reschedule appointment. So that is how the node architecture looks like, the graphical view of our entire flow. Okay, so that is all about this particular graph file. So it looks very complicated, but you can say it's very simple to understand, right? So that is what our graph represents. This is like a multi-agent hierarchical workflow for our dental appointment system or the booking system. We have one particular supervisor, right? And that supervisor is able to understand the intent and is able to delegate it into four specialized agents, which is info agent, booking agent, cancellation agent, and reschedule agent. And these are all the agents available here in the agents folder. You can see booking agent, cancellation agent, info agent, and rescheduling agent. And this is exactly the supervisor that we are talking about, right? So each specialized agent can call tools. They can search database or your CSV file, check availability, and then do the further tasks, right? So after tools are executed, control returns to the same agent, so it can make multiple tool calls or give final answer. And when an agent decides that it is finished, the conversation either ends or returns back to the supervisor depending on the implementation. So that is pretty much all about our entire end-to-end project. I hope you're able to understand. It's nothing really very difficult to understand. If you go through these pieces of code individually, you will be able to understand each and everything. Okay, now before wrapping it up, let me quickly do another round of a simple demo. For example, I'm just closing it out, and then I will be quitting it, and then I will restart it. And let's try to ask something. For example, okay, let it start. Hey, I want to do a booking. I want to do a booking for a dentist. So I'm generally asking a dentist, right? Now, of course, there are multiple types of dentists. So let's see how the agent will behave. To get started, tell me what type of dentist. So let's say general dentist. General dentist should be fine. So a general dentist it is. To help find the best slot, could you please provide your preferred doctor? Any doctor is fine. By the way, my patient ID is 1000082. Done. I have got your patient ID noted. Since you are open to any general dentist, I have pulled up some available slots with Dr. John Doe. Here are the earliest ones. So let's say any slot is fine. So it will basically pick any slot and then it will be able to book an appointment. So that's exactly all about this use case. Apart from that, there are many other scenarios that I have already talked about. I don't want to repeat all these things that I have already repeated. That brings us to a closer to this beautiful project. In case you want to take it to the next level, what are going to be your future work? The future work is going to be as simple as, if I would have been instead of you, I would have taken this file, dumped it into a database, and I would ask my Python to interact with the database and will try to make the project a bit more complex than what it is right now. And the second step will be probably going ahead and doing a deployment. But before deployment, maybe I will shift it to probably the next step. So let's say I'm going to shift it to the next step. So let's say I'll make it number 3. Number 2 will be creating a beautiful front end, beautiful UI, probably using Flask or Streamlit, right? Or if you want to use some custom UI tools, feel free to do that. Make it look better with all those calendar pop-ups and all those things. And once that is done, go ahead and deploy it. If you want to do a simple deployment, go ahead and pick Streamlit and go for a simple EC2 deployment. Should not take more than like an hour or so, and you should be good. So that basically brings us to the end of this project. Thank you.